Every single day, people take unwanted or unused items to thrift and antique stores across the country. But as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and we're here to prove it. Identify valuable things before you throw them away. Join us as we show and tell of treasures found and sold by a full-time reseller with the hopes of helping you find some treasures of your own. Welcome to the What's Sold podcast.
Welcome back to the What's Sold podcast. Audience, I just realized, I informed Matt of this in our pre-production meeting, that this is our 1-year anniversary, people.
Happy anniversary, cousins.
I feel like there should be some supplies or some applause and things. So, cousins, we made it a full year.
I might have to get in character here for just 2 seconds and say, from the bottom of my heart, cousins, you've done us a kindness. You are a bunch of lambs. Thank you so much for, come out being a part of this with us. We're just trying to sell things and tell you about it.
What's funny is I hear a little bit of Missouri come out in you, too.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
good.
so. I'm out of practice because it's been like 2.5 months.
People are talking.
Someone needs to light a fire. You know what? Listen, it's Monday, and fingers are crossed here. If I don't get sick, if one of my kids doesn't get sick, if my wife doesn't get sick, if somebody doesn't break a bone, and if we don't get so much snow that we're, there's so many things that can happen. But if none of those things happen, I'm going to get back into the routine this week, making videos. It's just tough. We're going to talk about this part of the show today, but, a big thing has happened, like a consequence of me selling more for other people, is that just naturally the volume of sales is going up. And so today we're recording this on a Monday. We don't usually record on a Monday, but we're trying to catch up.
Because we've been sick.
Or we've been taking care of sick people. But between Friday and it's, midday today, so 3.5 days, 2 of those are a weekend, but in the eBay world, stuff's available for sale anytime. There are no store hours, so to speak of. But I had 68 orders that sold in 3.5 days. And some of those orders are not just a single item. They could be multiple things that one person bought, and then I gave them a shipping discount. So, for example, I haven't got to it yet today, but this afternoon, one of the orders has 43 items in it.
Whoa.
Now, the good news is that they're small items, and they're all stored in the same spot. So it's not like 43 different types of things, and I'm all over the office area. I'll be able to retrieve these fairly quickly. But the point is, if you have some that have multiple, that's like dozens and dozens and dozens of items I have to find. So at this point, I'm spending an entire day a week just doing, if I add it up, right, doing fulfillment. I'm fulfilling twice a week, and each day that I do fulfillment takes half a day to get those orders in. So, if I'm doing 60 some orders, let's just call it 60 orders every 3 to 4 days, I'm doing over 100 orders a week. I'm processing that many.
Yeah.
Or over 400 a month. And that really starts, it eats into your time. But I've just sort of traded, right, the time I was spending driving around. I've traded me spending as much money. I've traded paying for gas for getting items that belong to other people, and I'm doing everything I do to sell those things. I've just traded that time and that money for spending that time doing the work that directly translates to sales, and I can keep my investment money in my pocket for the most part. I still go out about once every couple of weeks, but listen, I used to be going out 2 to 3 times a week, and spending various amounts of time. So it's been busy. And February is a low month typically, but because I'm doing this, it's been steady.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit as we celebrate our 1-year anniversary of the What Sold podcast. Kind of crazy to think that, we were talking about it. It's really fun. I think both of us genuinely enjoyed doing it. We've talked about it. We're both friends. We're friends off the air. It's not just characters we play. We enjoy a libation or two every once in a while together, and
we pretend to be friends on air.
We pretend to be.
We get off as fast as possible whenever it's over.
We're like those old time, like you always read about, like those stars where they hate each other, like in bands where the band members don't talk to each other.
It's crazy to me. This just goes to show that there are all kinds of different personalities, and thank goodness, because if I were in a band with a bunch of people that were like me, I couldn't go in and play with somebody that I was really upset with day after day.
Yeah.
And there are people who do that. And so, I mean, if it's your job, right? If you're just like, well,
show me the money.
You don't love every part of your job sometimes. That's fine. But yeah.
Well, this show wouldn't work without Rusty, for sure. Wouldn't work without you. There'd be really no point to it. But it is a fun working relationship. The reason we don't record typically on a Monday is because I've got to edit to get the show dropped on by Wednesday, and it takes a certain amount of time, and I've got other podcasts I'm doing. It's just a lot of stuff. But we both have a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of interesting to me to think about. When you were saying that, I was like, economies of scale of building a business. And this is, by the way, before I'm gonna cut myself off there. We've got so much positive response from people about like, talk all you want to. I'm like, so we're just gonna talk
as a response.
Yeah. People
okay.
are like, you talk all day long, and I feel like, wow, in the modern era, just fast forward past what you don't want to hear.
Yeah, I don't feel, everybody out there, they have different things they're looking for, wanting, and feedback is fine. I mean, honestly, feedback is fine. I mean, try to be kind if it's all the same. But yeah, I mean, I get some people want to just blow past it, and I get that. At the same time, I just kind of think, there's lots of podcast things out there that I mean, maybe not as much in this niche, but if you don't want to hear us talking about ourselves, I get it. Don't listen. Don't listen to
exactly.
us. Go listen to somebody else. Yeah.
So that leads me to the next part of that whole thing, and then we'll get back to what we sold and everything. Is we launched this week, finally, a year into our operation here, we finally figured out how to show you the items. So very simply, I cut down the episode so that it is the part in the show where Matt actually physically shows the items. So if you're interested in looking what they look like, we've tried Facebook, we've tried all these things. It's really hard to get them. It's just a lot of steps. Facebook thinks we're imposters, whatever. But we will be. I literally been kicked off Facebook for I don't know why, but they said that you're not really Matt. But so we will be doing that little. They're probably usually about 15 minutes. So if you don't want to watch the whole show, you just want to watch the part about what sold, the physical items. It's going to be on the YouTube channel.
So you know what? We're giving you, some listeners, we're giving you what you want. We're giving you a condensed version. And and I hope you like it. And I think that the way you correct me, but I think that the intention, if we haven't done it already, is to set up within YouTube these lists. They're not
playlists.
Lists, but playlists. Yeah, exactly.
We have set them up. Yep.
You can go, and if all you want to do is watch videos like that, you can watch those. If you just want to watch the videos that I have done in the past and plan on continuing to do, where I'm basically just sitting in front of my computer and I'm showing you my eBay store and showing you, item after item. This is how long it took to sell. This is how much it costs. This is what I got. In any pertinent information, quick, rapid fire stuff, you can get that info too. And then if you just want to watch this, I don't know why anyone would actually want to just watch us and doing this, but if somebody wants to, otherwise, obviously the podcast is where you can consume it.
We're sort of building it for you to listen to while you're gardening or driving in your car or whatever. But so one of the things that you said about this, about how much time you spent, that you're spending more time actually in fulfillment, which is great. But I was thinking about the fact, and we've talked about this on past shows, about what's the tipping point for you, I guess monetarily or number-wise, to where you said, hey, man, I can make more money doing X than Y, and I need to hire somebody to do Y. Is there any point, or is it just, and I know that you've had people work for you in the past, but is it, can you give us a little explanation on how you do that in case anybody's out there scaling?
Well, I'm not so I'm still trying to figure it out. Is the correct answer? And I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer. I think it has everything to do with, there are several factors. How much time are you spending doing certain tasks? And everyone in business who wants to give you advice will tell you, only do what you can do. And that's sort of, a condensed, the idea being, okay, let's say your business has 10 primary tasks. Maybe 8 of those tasks would not be difficult or that time consuming to teach someone else to do. But there's 2 that, it doesn't matter how much time you spend or whatever. Really, you're in the ideal position to do that task. You could do it better than anyone else, or maybe it's delicate. Maybe you wouldn't trust someone else with it, at least in the beginning. I think it does make sense to start. I think the time you need to start thinking about it is when you realize you have more work than you can accomplish in a given week. And I'm there. I've been there for a while. I have way more items sitting around here that are not listed than I can get to in a given week. And every week I'm getting more. So for me, it made sense to hire a person or multiple people at any given time to be doing listings for me, and I pay them to do the listing. So for me, I've taught a person how to research, photograph, and I've given them access to one of my eBay stores and they're listing items. And then at the end of every month, we go through and total up how many listings that person does, and I pay them based on what we had agreed to as far as the price per listing, or however it is that you would want to do it. I pay per listing. And that could be a listing of one item. It could be a listing of a lot. It doesn't matter. All in all, like, it takes a certain amount of time to do that, and I've kind of calculated what makes sense for me to pay for that. So that's all I'm doing right now. Is I have another person or sometimes a couple people helping with that, just because the volume is coming in very quickly. I'm now getting to the point, as I mentioned, I'm spending a lot more time doing fulfillment. And that is an important piece because, you need to get it packaged. You need to find the item, get it a label packaged and out to a person within a time window. I have a 3 day shipping and handling setup, which I just chose for my store. No one's balked at that. If I get a little bit behind, or if I wait to that last day, sometimes I get emails from people being like, hey, is this shipped yet? Or can I get a tracking number? And I get it, but they don't realize I have a high. Now, that's not their problem, right? That I have other things other than what they've paid for that I have to also attend to. But I think that when you start maybe feeling under the gun, like, oh gosh, I got more. I mean, I'm gonna be in a difficult place to get all of these even fulfilled in time. When you start having that pressure and you're just one person, it's probably time to look at finding somebody else to take over that portion. Because if I was freed up to not have to do any fulfillment, then I can focus on doing the research, separating out the stuff I want my worker to list versus the stuff right now. The way I decide that is more valuable items I'm taking. So if it's gold jewelry, or in some cases sterling, or antique items of a particular value, I'm going to be listing those, or really high-end collectibles. Things that are still valuable, but maybe it's just easier. I've got a bunch of one thing, and it'd be really easy for that worker to kind of list them in sequence and do it really quickly all in one category. That's the stuff I move off to a worker. So, I mean, the tipping point, for some people, it's money. For me, it's more about, okay, what needs to be done and how much time is there in a day to accomplish those tasks, and what are the things that only I feel comfortable doing for my business, and what stuff am I willing to risk and also put money out into the world to have someone else accomplish for me. That's a long-winded answer. But again, there isn't really a right or wrong. It's just kind of like when you get to that point. Anybody who's a part-time reseller out there is not even going to have to worry about that, right? It's really once you get to a certain level, I mean, unless you just are willing to pay a person $1 a listing or whatever it is, and in which case you can get started now. I mean, you don't have to have a ton of things if you would rather somebody else take that piece. And then, I mean, for some people that are just starting, if you have someone else, like a partner or someone else who's interested in doing it, you guys should divide and conquer. One person do the finding of the items, maybe the research. The other person does the listing and the fulfillment, and you just sort of split that up. Peaches, a friend of mine who's from the Rusty channel, he doesn't live in my town. He lives in St. Louis, but he's a perfect example of someone who's done this type of work. We would be in business together, I believe, if he was here. We would be sharing probably financial. We'd probably share our finances to purchase things. We would split the work. We would split the profit because I trust him. I've known him since I was a kid. So if you have someone you know or trust, I think the difficulty is just there's a lot that you have to add all kinds of management stuff if you hire people, right? You have to think about how you're going to pay them. You have to, send them a 1099 at the end of the year for taxes. Do you trust, how valuable are these items? Do you trust other people with them? I don't mind trusting someone with items I've purchased, but it becomes riskier if I have been given items by someone else to sell for them on their behalf, and then I move them to a third person. That starts to get tricky, right? Because if something happened, I'm still responsible. So those are all things to kind of think about. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot. It's funny, as you were talking about, in my head, I start running through the laundry list of things that you and I both do.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you do, scaling is always tough, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to do certain tasks. Now, if let's just say you're a retired couple, maybe you're retired military and your wife and you, or, husbands or whatever, you both get into the business and you want to make $500 extra a month in retirement, that's a perfect gig to do together. One person goes out, or maybe you search together and then one person does fulfillment and the other. So there are probably all sorts of gradations of different roles you can take. I think my sense is, people, please email us at the What's Sold Podcast at gmail.com if you have thoughts about this, but my sense is that most of the people that listen to us or interact with the show are kind of one-person operations who are going out there and they're trying to sell a few things, probably not that many full-time resellers.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very curious. So this is Yvette reached out. By the way, I think Yvette's ghosting us now. I haven't heard from Yvette. I said, we'd love to hear from Yvette.
Who knows, man? Sickness is going around. I can tell you what, I was out of commission there for a few weeks and just now kind of crawling out of that dark hole.
Bless your heart, Yvette. We hope you're well.
Yeah, we do hope you're well, Yvette.
If anybody out there is a full-time reseller like Matt, who's out there, plugging along, doing it, let us know. We'd love to have you on and talk about, if you're in a different part of the country or you have a different spin on the whole thing. We are starting to do more. We're going to bring Peaches on. We've got more and more. We're going to start bringing more guests on because we really do want to show you the vast configuration of things that are possible in this world. So it's not just Matt does one thing, but there are lots of other ways to skin the cat. So please let us know if you want to.
Awesome.
All right, Matt.
Yeah.
So we teased, we threatened, we promised on our 1-year anniversary show of the What Sold podcast, we're going to spend the majority of our time today talking about what actually sold. So you sold a ton of stuff in February. Let's just launch into it. What'd you sell this week?
So I'm going to give you a few examples of things that have sold, and then to end, I'm going to give you an example of something that I tried to sell and discovered that I was not allowed to. And I think that might be something that people
That's a tease.
find
it
is
a tease in the business. Nice.
So today has been a good day. I mean, we're about a little after midday, and I've done about $4,200 in sales today.
Nice.
And these are two different lots. I'm holding up a little, like a gallon-sized plastic bag, and in this lot is a bunch of what would just be called or considered Southwest or Native American jewelry. And so all of this stuff, like here's a nice cuff bracelet that involves several really nice quality cab pieces of turquoise, a little pendant here with turquoise and coral, and then even some that have onyx, like here's a nice necklace, a sterling silver necklace with a large piece of onyx stone at the bottom. Several of these are signed by the artists. Here's another one, interesting design. And just necklaces. This was a cool one. It's got turquoise on one side, but then if you flip it over, it's got coral. So you can wear it with coral. On the side that shows the coral, you can wear it on the side that shows the turquoise. But this lot, which was probably around, let's call it 10 rings, 4 little cuff bracelets, and 2 or 3 necklaces, sold for $1,400.
Wow. To one person, obviously.
To one person. So the whole lot probably weighs around between 700 and 800 grams. Now, people are paying in the 90-some cents or so per gram of silver right now because silver and gold are the highest. Gold, I think, is the highest it's been in like 20 years, something like that. It's very high in value right now. And it's strange, too, because a lot of times they are inverse of the market. So if the stock market is cooling, gold starts to go up and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But right now, the market's still pretty good and gold and silver are up. That cannot last, people. So if you want to sell silver and gold, now's the time to do it, because even if you sell it for 15 or 20% below spot today, that's like selling it at spot or above just a year or two ago, right? Because the values have gone up so much. So
spot is the price
the
that
spot
the market
value,
is. Yeah,
correct.
Spot
like
value. Got it.
Yeah, and if you look up online, you can look up, just what an ounce of gold is. But most likely you don't have solid gold coins, or you might, but most people have gold in jewelry or rings or things like that. But you can look up 10K price per gram, K price per gram, 18K price per gram. And there are multiple sites out there that will tell you real-time values of 1 gram of 14 karat gold. And they've divided out based on the amount of purity, the actual percentage of solid gold inside of that piece of jewelry. And then you can just multiply that times how many grams your item is. Now, if your item has gemstones in it, obviously part of that weight is the gemstone. So if you're going to sell stuff as a lot, you either should remove those stones ahead of time, or you just need to expect that whatever the weight of that is, they're not going to pay you that full amount because a portion of that weight is the gemstone. And some people pull those out and sell those gemstones to jewelers or other places. Most places just pop them out and pitch them. For those who don't know, and I'm talking about diamonds and other precious stones too. Some people, to them, it's just not worth the time.
To even put them into a lot and try to sell them as gemstones?
Well, the time it takes to remove a stone, and now diamonds are the hardest gemstone out there. Diamonds and moissanite, those are a 10 out of 10 on the Mohs scale. 9 out of 10 is sapphires and rubies. So those are the hardest substances. Now, if you're in there with pliers or cutters or something and you're trying to remove a stone like one of those, the chances are you'll probably be able to get it out without scratching it or damaging it too much. But most other gemstones that are 7s or 8s or softer, it's going to be very difficult to remove those without scratching them or damaging them in the first place. So if you're spending the time to get it out, and then you, at the end of the day, at the end of that, you have a stone out, but now it's so damaged no one would want to buy it, then it wasn't worth your time, right? So for things that look like diamond, that test like diamonds, are half a carat or higher, people will pull those out. If it's a really large, what appears to be a natural Colombian sapphire or a really good color sapphire that, an emerald or a sapphire that's, a larger carat, those will sell really well. But if this is just amethyst, or if this is just rock quartz, or if it's citrine, which is a type of quartz, it's just colored yellow or orange or brown, those are just a dime a dozen. They're not valuable. So they're going to get them, they're going to pop them out, they're going to melt the metal and sell it off. That's what the scrappers do. So the point is, silver right now, Southwest Jewelry with turquoise, onyx, coral, lapis, those items, especially if they are from like the 60s, 70s, and they were made by, maybe they're signed by an artist, they were made by someone a Native American, or maybe they were made by somebody in the Southwest and they've signed it. That stuff, there's a big collector base for that. So that's why I sold these all as a group, because I was able to then sell this for almost double what the spot weight was, because it's functional, nothing's broken, and there are collectors for it.
How much did you pay for that lot? Or did you just collect them?
Yeah, good question. I'm probably about $600 in on the lot. I sold it for $1,400, so I'm making several $100 profit off of that. One bracelet in here actually belonged to somebody else, and so I weighed that separately, and I'm just going to have to calculate out and pay out what that was worth in that lot. Another big sale, the other big one that happened today, is another large gallon bag, but this entire thing is full of sterling silver.
Wow.
It's a combination. It's mostly antique jewelry that's heavily tarnished. It might be monogrammed. We're talking about, little salt and pepper shakers, little cups, several old spoons and stuff, flatware, and then the rest is just jewelry. And most of it is marked. Some of it's not, but it's been tested. And it weighs a lot. It weighs about 3,100 grams. So this morning, this sold for $2,800. So I had a $1,400 sale. I had a $2,800 sale.
How long did it take you to collect all that stuff to get it together?
Well, I listed both of these this morning, and they sold within about 2 or 3 hours. Oh, how long did it take to
collect them until you sell them?
So the bag of silver actually is from one person I'm selling for. So it cost me nothing. I got it all at one time. How long did it take him? I have no idea. But he wanted it to move fast. He understood what eBay takes, and getting it sold basically the next day, and he loses that 13.5% is okay, because he's had this for a while. If he'd sold it last year, he would have got the money faster, but he would have made less. So he chose to wait. He found me, and now I can put that in his pocket.
Did you know this person beforehand?
I've met them through the course of doing the work that I do, and through either conversations. This particular person, I've just developed a relationship.
Is what I'm saying.
No, nope. Somebody else
Okay.
who does selling as well, actually in a different avenue. But they, through conversations, they decide they didn't sell online, and I do sell online. So we've kind of teamed up. Now, when there's higher end things, jewelry or collectibles of a certain value, he would rather me sell them for him online, because even though he loses that 13.5%, I'm still able to sell it for 30 to 40% more than he would be able to sell it for locally at his shop, just based in a rural town, based on whoever walks in. So
wait a second.
other stuff he'll sell, and then
you get a cut of that?
I do. So I take a
Okay.
percentage. Yep. So what I usually tell people is, hey, listen, eBay takes 13.5%. So we're going to be left with whatever that is, 86.5% of whatever had sold. So if that 86.5% becomes the whole now, we do a split. And, it's either a 60-40 or a 70-30, where they get the larger amount and I get the smaller amount. I also take care of the taxes. So they just get paid out, and I'm not sending them a 1099. I'm paying them for the money that came in, and I keep my amount. And it's their responsibility to manage their own money. I'm keeping track of the sales. I end up paying. So part of my portion of the sale, I actually lose as well, because that goes to income tax, right, at the end of the year. Because the tax documents that eBay sends me at the end of the year gives a cumulative, like the gross sales. And so I'm responsible for those gross sales. Obviously, I have to do my own, what my cost was during the year, what I paid out to my worker, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on the hook, and that's just the way I've done it now. It may not make sense to always do that. If I start getting up, right now, in the last 2 to 3 months, I may cross 60,000 in sales in the last 90 days. So on that pace, that's just a little shy of under $250,000 gross sales of one person on eBay. And that's a lot to fulfill, because I'm not selling 10,000. Sometimes I'm selling ones for $2,000 or $3,000, but those are the exception. It just happened that they happened today when we're recording.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm mentioning
the
it.
bag looks like it would be you remember in Moana, the giant crab. And
the
his,
pile of all his jewels and stuff. Oh, that's exactly
that's
right.
What it looks like. It
Tamatoa.
looks like that pile.
Tamatoa. That's
Yeah,
right.
I kind of feel like if you could get Tamatoa to want to sell some of his stuff, that'd be the perfect get.
He was bedazzled
He was
all
bedazzled.
over his yeah. He loved this stuff. Okay, some other cool things. So another person I'm selling for has several collections of things, and I met her one time at an estate sale. 3 years later, I bumped into her again. We struck up a conversation, and now I'm selling things for her. And one of these collections that she had were several of these old hunting or fishing licenses. Now, for those who are not aware, back, I would say all the way up into the 70s, from the 20s all the way up to the 70s, instead of getting a piece of paper or something you put in your wallet, hunting and fishing licenses were little pin backs. They were round, they were hard, with a little pin on the back of them, and you would pin them on your vest or on your shirt or on someplace on your body when you were out hunting, and it would have typically a number, the year, and the state. Sometimes it would say whether or not you were a resident of the county. It would say the county or a non-resident. I had no idea until I started researching these things how collectible and valuable they are. So I don't know the exact number. It was somewhere around 100 that I got listed. I put them on a 7-day auction. Probably 60 or 70 of them sold in the first 7-day auction. I'm going to hold up a few of these to show. So one person, as an example of multiple orders, purchased 3. We've got one that's a 1927 non-resident fishing license in Minnesota. It cost $3 for that in 1927. That's what it says on the tab. Another one says hunting license, state resident of North Carolina, 1934 to 1935, and it's green. And then another one here, fishing license, also North Carolina, 1931, and this is a state resident. This order of 3 buttons that are about, I would say, 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter, $270 for these 3. That's one sale. The next one I'll show you, same thing. This is a 1927 North Carolina fishing license. This sold for $100. most of them sold for between $50 and $80. But then this one right here, a 1931 Michigan with a looks like a pike or some kind of fish on it, non-resident. This one sold for $268.
Nice.
Just one. I have one buyer who purchased, I went and totaled it before the show today. He purchased 43, and he spent just shy of $4,500 for those 43.
Cow.
One collector, nearly
Are the fishing
$4,500.
licenses still metal like that?
They are metal, yeah. So they got a metal
today.
Today.
No,
I
it's
think
just like a piece of paper,
a lot of
right?
it's like paper. So you usually, and I think that they even email digital copies, so you can like keep it on your phone or something. Prior to the pins, they did have some paper things, or even things made out of like linen or something like canvas or something. And those are incredibly rare, hard to find in decent condition because they're a material that can degrade and is easily damaged. So
wait, before you go on from that, we've talked about it. We both grew up in these small rural ag towns.
Yeah.
A couple of lads from my high school, not the brightest characters.
Okay.
Because farmers can get dynamite. There's a whole thing around it, like you gotta have a license for it and whatever, to like blow out tree stumps and things like that.
Sure.
Like to prepare
Fair
fields.
enough.
So
right.
These two smart gentlemen, a couple of guys, I think they were a couple of years younger than me. They got a couple pieces of dynamite. They stole a tennis net from the high school. They strung it across this. It's a big creek. It was a creek, but it wasn't quite a river, but it was a creek. They strung across, but the steelhead would spawn in this creek, and so they and it is a crime to fish for steelhead. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a crime to fish at all out of sea. I think there's only a very
Is it a crime to
small
fish
window.
by using dynamite though?
Well, funny you ask, Matt. Yes, it is. So these two characters went through dynamite and they caught like, I don't know, a couple hundred of these steelhead that were spawning in their net. They just didn't realize that the fish and game warden could hear the dynamite and literally walked down and was like, what do you guys do? I think it was like thousands of dollars in fines for anyway. But it reminds me, I don't think they had a fishing license. I'm just spitballing here.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure they could have used one of those fishing licenses.
Oh yeah, they they couldn't
story,
show it too. They couldn't show it too closely because if he got up and he's like, "Wait a second, 1928, what are you doing here?"
That'd have been even the best part. That would have been the cherry on top of that. If
they're like, "Hey, it says it never expires."
So good. Anyway, true story. I promise.
Wow.
All right, what else sold, Matt?
Those guys. Well, I want to shift over to something. So I did sell a variety of badges. So this is another collection.
We don't need no stinking badges.
A bunch of badges. And it was a combination of various types of badges, but primarily it had to do with railroad workers, fire workers, like fire department staff, and then police and military. So when I say a badge, I'm going to pull up a couple of things here. You'll know exactly what I mean. So here's a badge. It says Deputy Game on it, Protector, Pennsylvania. So this is like a game warden. And a little part of the medallion actually has fallen off of that one. But I have several others. Here's one. It says Deputy Sheriff.
If you had one that said Deputy Dog on it,
police.
I would buy it, Matt.
Deputy Dog.
Do you remember Deputy Dog?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. This is Member McDowell County Rescue Squad, and this is like North Carolina. It's old. It's got like one of the screw back kind of screws in the center of it. So I don't know, maybe let's call it 40 or 50 of these. Started listing these along with the fire ones and the others, and very quickly 3 were taken down by eBay, stating that it was a policy violation and that I shouldn't have them. So, and that happens, folks, if you put something on, whether it's true or not, they will sometimes flag things, or they will sometimes take your listings down if they feel like it's violating a policy or if it's something that they don't allow people to sell. Turns out eBay has a policy where they don't allow you to sell any sort of police or, according to them, military badges. I guess the reasoning being, because these were authentic. These are not reproductions. These were used at one point in time. They're just obsolete now. And here's the weird part. There is an entire category in eBay that's simply for obsolete military and police badges. They themselves, eBay, have created that category for you to sell them. And that is the category I used to sell them, and yet they still pulled them down and said I was violating a policy by listing them. Meanwhile, you can get on, and there are thousands of these for sale on eBay. Why are they telling me I can't sell it and allowing others? Well, therein lies one of the ugly parts about this platform, is that they're not consistent. And they'll say, hey, well, just because we haven't found or dinged this other person yet doesn't mean that you're allowed to sell it. So you may find sometime that there are people out there selling a particular item on eBay and you can't. Or if you risk it, you might sell it, but also eBay might catch it and pull it down before you. So what happened was all of my fire ones could stay up. All of my game warden ones could stay up. All of my ones for, hunting and fishing. But when it came to police, I had to take all of them down. So here's the deal. I discover that I can't sell these on eBay because according to eBay, they have a policy against it. What do I do now? What would you do, or what do you think my alternative avenue or avenues to sell these now would be?
I guess I would either try to find a collector online, or I would maybe try to find another selling platform. I mean, Etsy? I don't know.
Yeah. As far as I know, I've not checked Etsy yet. My guess is you can sell them on Etsy. I think what I'm going to try first is, and I've done this before with other types of things, I have joined a couple of police badge or military badge collector groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
There are collector groups, people who form a page, and they all join this group, sometimes just to share information, like collectors or people who are enthusiasts have these set up so that people can get on and post pictures, and people find it fun to look at them or give information and learn. And then others are specifically for buying and selling a particular category, and then there's crossover of both. But I've joined some that do allow selling. And so I plan on trying to reach directly people who are there specifically to buy or sell that category of item and see if I can find collectors who'd be interested in this. Downside here is that it's difficult since the platforms I primarily use don't allow the sales of it, or it's limited. It becomes difficult to determine actual current values of these things being sold, because one of the most valuable things about eBay, even more so than letting me sell things, is that you can see anything that's sold in a particular category with a certain search query in the last 90 days. So you have a 3-month period of time that you can look at and get a decent idea of what the current market values of these things are and which things are selling for more and which are selling for less. Since some are selling, but they've limited it, like people like me who have a whole collection here I can't sell, it's hard for me to know, and I don't want to get on and say, oh, hey, this one's $75, and it's something that's worth $250 or $300, right?
Yeah.
But if you put on something, it's only worth $75, and you say, I want $300, you'll get 2 people that put thumbs up, and you'll get no responses, nobody wanting to buy it. So it gets a little trickier to know that. But that's one alternative is find another platform, or I can do something like this and try to reach out and find collectors. I could even reach out on Marketplace and see if there are local collectors, even though I think I limit myself if I'm only trying to target people in my geographical region.
And it also is one of those things where what's the economies of scale? Like, is it worth spending the time? If it's an item, it might be super cool, and if it was thrown up on eBay and you sold it for $20, that'd be worth it. But if you got to do a bunch of extra work to sell it, it might not even be worth doing.
Now,
so
one
it's something
advantage
to think about.
That's true. That's a really good point. You have to think through, like, what are the risks when I sell things through eBay? eBay has a whole payment processing system set up that you use. So when the buyer buys, you don't, as the seller, know what payment form they're using. Are they using money that's already in their account on eBay? Are they using a credit card? Are they using, you don't know. But if I'm going to meet somebody directly on Facebook in a group, for example, usually people are buying things and using the PayPal payment system, which, depending on if you're using goods and services or if you're using the friends and family, it's a different amount that will be taken. But I can tell you that if all you lost was 13.5% on eBay, the most you're going to lose through PayPal is like 2 or 3%, which is maybe something that they would charge. So the point is, if I sell it, provided I'm not underselling it, like selling things to people for way less than it's actually valued at, the person I'm selling these for stands to make more money because they're not losing the 13.5% of the sale to eBay. all they're going to lose is whatever little piece that PayPal wants. But there are other risks there, right? I can't go, the buyer and the seller can't go back to eBay if there's a issue and say, hey, like, help me out here, which isn't always the worst thing, because sometimes, many times, I've wasted a lot of time trying to get eBay support and didn't get it. So, I mean, there is within PayPal, you can contact PayPal if you feel like you were defrauded or something like that. But I have sold collections of things to an individual on Facebook before, and it's nice because you get the money instantly. You don't have eBay doesn't hold on to it, and you may have been able to sell it to at the highest price because you're directly interacting with a person who collects that specific item. So
yeah, it's interesting. As much as I don't think we complain about eBay much on this show, but I know that there's downsides for sure.
I feel like I do, but
the benefit to it is that the reason why they can do it, the reason why you keep going, is because of things like what you just named. So there are advantages, there are downsides for sure, but there are upsides on the flip thing. All right. Any other items that you want to share with us today, Matt?
Not that have sold. I mean, I've sold like 70 or 60 or 70 of these orders I have to process in the next few days are just these hunting licenses. I have some gold-filled jewelry. I've got a bunch of gold and silver jewelry still that I need to list, and some old belt buckles. I got some cool stuff. On the next episode, we'll record in a couple of days. I'll probably do a combination of things that have sold and then things that I'm about to list and give some information on that stuff, because there are so many different things out there that people collect that have values.
Yeah.
A lot of those you, listener, likely have at your house right now.
That's
Don't
awesome.
even have to look outside of your own house.
I'm going to start going through my closets. I'm telling you, it's time. All right. Well, listen, Matt, congratulations. Wait for it. I think we've got clapping going on in the background.
Slow clap. The slow clap.
Do we hear upload the media, the clapping. Let's see if it works.
Okay.
No, it didn't work.
Well,
anyway, it has been 1 year. It has been super fun. I hope that we make it another year. Audience, those of you that are out there listening, loyal listeners, I'd be curious to know if anybody's listened to every episode. That'd be, we'll do a poll.
Yeah.
Send us an email if you've listened to every episode.
Yeah.
You could be what we call the super rusty fan, or the super what's
super
old
cousin.
Fan. Yeah,
we'll super cousin.
We'll send you like a little plaque or something.
There
Not
you
a plaque,
go.
but a piece of paper with like a ribbon on it.
We're going to send you a bowling trophy, and we're leaving the top. We're just changing the plaque. That's all it is.
It's going to be a bowling trophy, but it will say Super What's Old Podcast listener. Anyway, thank you, Matt. Any last words for the good people here at the What's Old Podcast?
I don't know. February is a low month for a lot of people. I think I said this recently, but don't get discouraged. It's going to pick back up in about a week and a half when you hit March and when some of the weather starts to improve, although it's going to be really cold and wintry this whole week for a lot of the country. But don't get discouraged. Good things are coming in the next month. It'll pick up.
Nice. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being part of this experience.
Yes.
We look forward to many more episodes up front. Remember to email us, follow us, like us, subscribe to us. Write those darn reviews, people. We really appreciate it. But otherwise, have a great rest of your week. Remember, we'll be back with a brand new show next week. Signing off. Take care.